My name is Vivian. The night my husband called me useless, I realized my silence had gone on long enough. You do nothing, Vivian. You do not even work. You live off me like a parasite. He said it while scrolling through his phone at the dinner table. The children were upstairs asleep. The house was quiet except for his voice. I keep this family together, I said evenly. He smirked. By folding laundry? By cooking? A maid could do that. A babysitter could do that. What do you actually contribute? I held his gaze. Do not speak to me like that. In my house. He set his phone down. Paid with my money? Without me you are nothing. He stood, poured himself another glass of wine, and left the room. The sound of his footsteps faded up the stairs. I sat still, my hands shaking, the words circling like knives. It had been building for months. First small comments. Then louder. Then cruel. You should get a job. You have no purpose. I am the only reason you live well. He repeated it so often he believed it. He wanted me to believe it too. But he did not know the truth. I was not useless. While he mocked me for not working, I had been building something of my own. Years ago, when my father died, he left me an inheritance. Quietly I invested. Stocks. Property. A trust fund. Eric never asked and I never told him. First I thought marriage meant trust. Later I learned it meant leverage. The insults were not the only change. Eric's phone was always hidden. He stayed late at the office more often. Receipts showed charges at restaurants I had never seen. His jacket once smelled faintly of perfume. When I asked, he laughed. Do not be paranoid. One Sunday night after he fell asleep on the couch, I checked his phone. A message flashed from a contact saved only as C. It read, I miss you already. Beneath it, a photo of wine glasses in a hotel room. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. The next week he said he had a dinner with clients. He wore his navy suit, kissed the air near my cheek and left at 6. At 6:30 I drove downtown. I waited in my car near the tall hotels. 7:15 I saw him. Eric walked out of a lobby with a woman in a red coat. He touched her arm and laughed. They entered a restaurant together. I did not cry. I took a photo. Then I drove home and tucked our youngest into bed without missing a word of his storybook. When Eric returned after midnight, he loosened his tie and smiled. Still awake? You should get more rest. You do not have work tomorrow. I looked at him, the lie still clinging to his jacket. How was your client? He smirked. Demanding. He went upstairs humming. I sat at the table until the clock struck 2. The next morning, while sending his suit to the cleaner, I found a folded paper in the pocket. A hotel receipt. Multiple nights. Bar charges. Dinner charges. Under guest 2. A woman's first name. I took a photo and slid the paper back. My hands were steady now. He thought I was nothing. He thought I was dependent. But he had no idea what I had prepared for years. That night he gave another jab. You should find a job. Something small. Receptionist. It would give you purpose. I answered calmly. I already have purpose. He laughed. Folding towels is not purpose, Vivian. I did not respond. I thought about the account statement hidden in my desk. The number he could never imagine. 2 days later he reminded me of a board dinner. Friday night. Confirm the caterer. And Vivian, do not embarrass me. I confirmed. But not for his sake. Friday became my date to begin. I pulled out a folder from my desk. Inside were documents. My father's letter, investment statements, property deeds. Proof of a fortune Eric knew nothing about. Proof that I had never needed him. On Friday he left early, dressed in a black suit. Smile. Stand by the coats. Be gracious, he ordered. I am always gracious, I said. He did not hear the steel in my voice. I waited 20 minutes, then followed. The hall was glittering, filled with donors and colleagues. Eric stood near the stage with the woman in the red coat. He leaned close to whisper in her ear. She laughed. Cameras flashed. He noticed me then. His smile faltered. He walked over and hissed, "Why are you here?" "To help," I said calmly. "After all, I have nothing better to do." He narrowed his eyes. "Stay out of my way. Do not make a scene." I smiled faintly. Of course. But my hand was already on the folder inside my bag. As I checked my phone, a new notification appeared. A large transfer had left our joint account, straight into his private consulting firm. The memo line read, "Transfer before separation." The transfer alert on my phone glowed like a warning. Transfer before separation. For a long moment I could not breathe. Eric was not just cheating. He was preparing to erase me. The ballroom buzzed around me, music, glasses clinking, polite laughter. But in that instant the noise blurred into static. I stared at his back as he charmed donors, his hand resting too long on the red-coated woman's waist. He thought I was still the obedient shadow he had molded. He had no idea the ground beneath him was already cracking. I left the hall quietly and drove home. The children were asleep. The sitter waved goodnight, unaware that my entire life had just shifted. I locked the door, set my bag on the table and opened my laptop. The joint account showed a series of withdrawals. Thousands over the past 3 months, moved to an account labeled consulting. Not once had he mentioned it. I opened another statement, our emergency fund. Nearly emptied. The transfer alert had not been the first. It was only the last piece of a theft he had been building in secret. I sat back, hands gripping the edge of the chair. He had called me useless while draining the money meant for our children. He was not leaving just for another woman. He was leaving to take everything. The front door opened at midnight. Eric walked in smelling of cologne and champagne. He hung his coat and loosened his tie, humming. "You are awake," he said casually. I stood in the kitchen doorway. "Where were you?" "Work, dinner. Important people." He poured himself a drink, not even looking at me. "With her?" I asked. He froze. The glass paused midair. Then he set it down slowly. "Who?" "The woman in the red coat." His smile returned, thin and sharp. "You are spying on me? You left receipts in your jacket. Hotel rooms. Restaurants. Transfers from our account." He leaned against the counter, studying me as if deciding how much truth to allow. "I do not need your permission to spend my money." "Our money," I said. He laughed. "You think you have a claim? You do not earn. You do not contribute. Without me you are nothing. The court will see it the same way." I stepped closer. "Is that why you moved the money? To protect yourself before you leave?" His eyes narrowed. "You should not have looked." Silence stretched between us. The refrigerator hummed. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked as if the house itself listened. Finally he said, "I am done pretending. I have carried you long enough. I want a wife who is my equal, not dead weight. Clara has ambition. She knows how to stand beside a man like me." The name cut through the air like glass. "Clara," I repeated. He smirked. "Do not act surprised. You knew. You chose silence. But now it is too late. Papers are ready. I will file soon. And you will leave this house with nothing." He picked up his glass again and left me standing in the kitchen. I did not follow. I opened the safe under the floor and pulled out the folder. My father's letter. My statements. Property deeds. I held them like weapons. For years I had been patient. Tonight patience ended. The next morning Eric acted as though nothing had happened. He made coffee, checked his phone, kissed the children on the head before work. "Daddy will be home late," he told them cheerfully. "Important clients." I watched him leave, calm on the surface, storm underneath. When the door closed, my daughter looked up at me. "Mom, are you okay?" I forced a smile. "I am fine. Go finish your breakfast." But I was not fine. I was clear. That afternoon I drove to the hotel listed on the receipt. At the front desk, I asked for directions to the lounge. The clerk smiled politely. "Room 504 is reserved long-term. Mr. Hale checked in yesterday." I froze. "Is he there now?" "I believe so. He requested wine sent up an hour ago." I thanked her and left before my anger betrayed me. Outside I sat in the car until my hands stopped shaking. Then I dialed Lena, my sister. Her voice was sharp. "What happened?" "He is living with her. He emptied the account. He is planning to leave me with nothing." There was a pause. Then, "Vivian, you need to fight. You have more than he thinks. Do not let him write your ending." I gripped the steering wheel. I will not. He thinks I am powerless. He is about to learn what powerless feels like. That night Eric did not come home. He texted, "Late meeting. Do not wait up." I did not reply. I slid the folder onto the table, opened it and began to draft a plan. Step by step. Quiet. Exact. At 2 a.m, headlights flared outside. A car door shut. Then laughter. Through the blinds I saw Eric walking Clara to our driveway, her hand on his arm. And for the first time he brought her home. The sound of Clara's laugh outside my window cut deeper than any insult. My husband had not only betrayed me, he had brought her to the place where our children slept. To him the house was no longer ours. It was his stage. I stood in the dark kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter until my knuckles ached. Their voices faded as the car pulled away. But my decision solidified. No more silence. No more waiting. If Eric wanted to erase me, I would leave him nothing to stand on. The next morning I began quietly. While he showered I checked his briefcase. Inside was a printed contract between Hale Consulting and a logistics company. The amount, $50,000. The signature Eric's. The bank account listed was not the joint account. I photographed every page with steady hands. That afternoon after he left for work, I searched his desk drawers. Tucked under tax files was a manila envelope marked private. Inside were receipts, hotel bills, jewelry purchases, restaurant checks. None of them had my name. The dates overlapped perfectly with the withdrawals from our emergency fund. I spread them across the desk, photographed each, and slid them back into place. When Lena called, I whispered, "He is sloppy. He left a trail everywhere." "Good," she said. "Document it all. Every slip is a nail in his coffin." But I knew financial proof alone would not be enough. I needed witnesses. That evening I visited the hotel again, dressed simply, a neutral coat and no jewelry. At the desk I smiled politely. "I am here about Mr. Hale's reservation." He asked me to confirm the length of his stay. The clerk glanced at the screen. "Yes, room 504. Reserved for 1 month. Guest Hale and secondary guest Clara Morton." Clara. Full name. I nearly smiled. "Thank you. I will let him know." Outside I snapped a photo of the hotel's marquee, then of the receipt on my phone. Now Clara was no longer just a shadow. She was a documented accomplice. Back home I opened my father's folder again. The inheritance statement showed a number Eric had never seen. Enough to prove I was not the helpless woman he claimed. Enough to show the court that I had always been financially independent. I took copies and hid the originals in a safe deposit box. The next day, I made an appointment with a private investigator. His name was Cole Mason. He was quiet, precise, the kind of man who noticed details others ignored. In his office, I laid the photos and receipts on his desk. "I need confirmation. Proof that will hold in court." He studied the papers. "This is strong already, but I will dig deeper. Bank records, shell accounts, surveillance if necessary. He is moving money, yes?" "Yes. Into his consulting firm. He calls it his own." Mason nodded. "Give me a week." 3 days, I said. "He is preparing to file for separation. I want to be ahead of him." He looked at me for a long moment, then agreed. 3 days. That night Eric came home late. He tossed his jacket on the chair, poured a drink and smirked. "Do you ever wonder what life would look like without me?" I answered evenly. "Every day." He did not catch the weight of my words. He was already drunk with his own arrogance. At midnight while he slept I checked his phone again. A new message from Clara. "I cannot wait until it is official. She will be out and then it will just be us." Attached was a photo. Her hand holding a champagne flute. His watch visible in the background. I saved it. Another nail. The next morning I visited the bank in person. I requested statements from the joint account. The clerk printed pages that showed months of steady withdrawals, always just below the reporting threshold. Thousands funneled into Hale Consulting. "Do you need copies certified?" the clerk asked. "Yes," I said. "For legal purposes." She hesitated but stamped each page. I slid them into my folder, thanked her and left. By the time I returned home, Mason had already sent me an email. Attached were screenshots of transfers from Eric's company into Clara's personal account. Thousands. Gifts hidden as consulting expenses. I stared at the screen until my jaw locked. He had not only stolen from me, he had funded her life with money meant for our children. When Eric walked in that night, he kissed the air near my cheek and asked, "Did you confirm the sitter for Saturday? Clara and I have a..." He stopped himself too late. I raised my head slowly. "Clara and you have what?" He stammered, then shrugged. "You heard wrong." He left the room. But I had not heard wrong. As I checked my folder before bed, I noticed a slip of paper I had not placed there. A note in neat handwriting. "Be careful. He is watching you too." The note in my folder felt heavier than the bank statements. "Be careful. He is watching you too." I stared at the handwriting. It was neat, deliberate, and not mine. Someone had slipped it into my folder while I wasn't looking. The question was who, and why warn me? I called Lena first. My sister answered on the second ring. "Vivian, what now?" I told her everything. The transfers, the hotel reservation, Clara's name on records, the note. She went quiet. Then her voice hardened. "You are not fighting this alone. I am coming." She was at my door within the hour. She hugged the children, then sat across from me at the kitchen table. I spread the papers, the photos, the certified statements. She scanned them quickly. "You have him already," she said. "But we need someone who can make this ironclad. You need a lawyer." I hesitated. Lawyers meant confrontation, exposure. But she was right. By the next morning, we sat in a small office across from Amelia Ward, a family law attorney with sharp eyes and sharper questions. She flipped through the folder page by page without comment. Finally, she closed it. "Vivian, what you have here is theft, fraud, and grounds for full financial restitution. He has built a paper trail so sloppy I almost feel insulted. But we cannot rush. If we play this wrong, he will bury you in court with his money." Lena leaned forward. "So what is the move?" Amelia ticked off points on her fingers. 1. We secure all the evidence in multiple places. Originals in a safe, copies in my office, digital versions encrypted. 2. We subpoena the hotel and the bank to make his spending indisputable. 3. We keep the children shielded. This will get ugly fast. I asked quietly. "And 4. She met my eyes. We plan the reveal. Public. Controlled. A room he cannot walk out of without witnesses." I nodded. My mind went to the upcoming corporate gala, bigger than any dinner he had dragged me to before. Perfect. That afternoon Mason joined us. He set his laptop on the table. I traced more accounts. He funneled money through Hale Consulting, then into Clara's personal account. Jewelry stores, luxury trips, everything disguised as business expenses. Amelia smiled thinly. "Excellent. That is fraud in black and white. Judges like black and white." Mason leaned back. "There is more. Someone inside his company does not like him. That is where the note came from. I cannot confirm who yet, but it means he is bleeding allies." Lena crossed her arms. "So we push while he is weak." Amelia shook her head. "We push carefully. Vivian, you must stay calm. Do not confront him yet. Let him believe he is winning. Desperate men make mistakes." That night Lena stayed over. We put the children to bed, then sat in the living room with tea. "You are stronger than you think," she said. "You have already lived 17 years of his insults. Now you get to turn them back on him." I smiled faintly. "He called me useless." She touched my hand. "Prove him wrong." The next day, Amelia filed the first motions. Bank subpoenas, requests for hotel records. Mason installed a small camera in my living room and a tracker app on my phone. For safety. Eric noticed nothing. Or maybe he thought I was too broken to act. He still came home late, still barked orders about dinners, still tossed receipts in his pockets as though I'd never see them. But now I was not alone. On Friday night, Amelia called. I spoke with the board secretary. Daniel is hosting a high-profile gala next week. Press, donors, executives. It is the perfect venue. If we prepare the evidence correctly, one strike there will end him. I closed my eyes. I could already see it. Eric on stage, charming and smug. And then the truth crashing down on him in front of every pair of eyes that mattered. That same night, my phone buzzed with a new message. No words, just a photo. Eric standing in our driveway, staring at the house, taken from the perspective of someone inside a car. The photo of Eric in my driveway stayed on my phone all night. No message, no threat. Just proof that someone was watching me. At dawn, I forwarded it to Amelia and Mason. Within an hour, they sat in my kitchen again, papers and laptops spread across the table like weapons. Amelia tapped the photo with her pen. He wants you rattled. That means he feels cornered. Good. But from now on, Vivian, you do not go anywhere alone. Agreed? Agreed, I said. Mason opened his laptop. I traced more financials. Eric shifted $20,000 into Clara's account last week. Same disguise. Consulting fee. That is wire fraud if we present it correctly. Amelia nodded. That will stick in court. Combined with the hotel records, we have enough to ruin him. But the reveal must be public. His world runs on reputation. We tear it down where he cannot hide. Lena leaned forward. The gala. Exactly, Amelia said. It is filled with executives, donors, and press. Cameras everywhere. If we leak the right evidence during his speech, he collapses in real time. Mason clicked through slides on his screen. I can set up a live feed. Documents projected on the wall behind him. Audio clips of him admitting transfers. Nothing he can deny once the room hears it. I remembered his words from the kitchen days earlier. Without me, you are nothing. I pictured saying them back to him, surrounded by the very people he tried to impress. Amelia drew a line down her notepad. We prepare 3 packages. 1 for the board chair, 1 for a trusted reporter, 1 sealed and filed at court. Even if he tries to shut it down, the truth spreads instantly. Lena crossed her arms. And Vivian? Amelia looked at me. You stand in that room calm, collected. You do not shout. You do not flinch. You simply present the truth. That is more powerful than rage. I exhaled. I can do that. Mason packed up his laptop. There is one more angle. Surveillance. I can tail him before the gala. If he meets Clara, if he transfers more money, if he slips, we catch it. It adds fuel to the fire. Do it, I said. For the next few days, my house became a command center. Amelia drafted legal motions. Lena organized the evidence into binders. Mason delivered daily updates with photos of Eric entering hotels, restaurants, and even Clara's condo. Each file was time-stamped, undeniable. Meanwhile, Eric still treated me like nothing. He tossed receipts on the counter, left at odd hours, texted excuses. Working late. Board meeting. Lies so thin I almost laughed. On Wednesday night, he returned home and said casually, I spoke with the attorney today. Papers are almost ready. By next month, this will all be behind us. I stirred the pot on the stove. Will it? He smirked. Yes. And you will finally have a chance to see what life looks like without me. Good luck affording it. I turned slowly, spoon in hand. Do you know what I have, Eric? He frowned. What? Patience, I said softly. And patience always pays. He laughed, thinking it was a weak attempt at dignity. He had no idea. The night before the gala, Amelia gathered us one final time. She laid 3 sealed envelopes on the table. 1 goes to the board chair at the event. 1 to the reporter. 1 I file at the courthouse tomorrow morning. Mason will run the projector. Vivian, you stand near the stage. When I give the signal, you walk forward and speak. I swallowed. What if he reacts violently? Security will be there, Mason said. He will not touch you. If he tries, it will only look worse for him. Amelia's voice was calm but firm. This is the moment, Vivian. You have waited years for it. You are not walking in as a victim. You are walking in with the truth. Lena reached for my hand. And we will all be beside you. I nodded, heart pounding. For 17 years, Eric had called me useless. Tomorrow, in front of the world, I would show him how wrong he was. That night, as I checked the final folder, a new email arrived from an unknown sender. No text, just an attachment. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was a photo of my children walking home from school, circled in red ink. The photo of my children circled in red ink haunted me through the night. I sat at the table staring at it, fists clenched until the sun rose. By morning my decision was clear. The gala would happen as planned. Eric wanted fear to silence me. Instead, fear would sharpen me. Amelia arrived first, folder in hand. Mason followed with his laptop and equipment. Lena trailed behind, her face tight. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. I nodded. "If we stop now, he wins. If we go forward, he falls." By late afternoon, we dressed carefully. Amelia wore a dark suit, Lena a sleek dress. Mason carried a case that held more truth than Eric had ever faced. I put on a simple black gown, nothing flashy. I wanted the evidence to shine, not me. At the venue, security buzzed with activity. Donors in glittering clothes streamed in. Photographers flashed cameras. Waiters carried trays of champagne. The room gleamed with chandeliers and polished marble floors. Eric was already there, shaking hands, laughing loudly. Clara at his side in the same red coat. He looked untouchable. I tightened my grip on my clutch where the folder lay hidden. Mason sat up near the projector. Amelia slipped the envelope to the board chair with calm precision. Lena stayed close to me, eyes scanning the crowd. Everything was aligned. Then, 15 minutes before Eric's speech, Mason's phone buzzed. He read the screen, his face darkening. "Problem." Amelia leaned over. "What is it?" "Power to the projector feed just cut. Someone tampered with the connection." My stomach dropped. "Can you fix it?" "I can try, but if it was deliberate, we are exposed. If Eric knows, he could be moving now." Amelia pressed her lips together. "Plan B. We hand the documents directly to the reporter during the speech." I shook my head. "It will not have the same impact. We need the room to see and hear at once." Mason was already moving, crouching behind the equipment. "Give me 5 minutes. Cover me." Eric stepped onto the stage, tapping the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. It is an honor to lead this company into the future." Applause filled the room. My pulse hammered. Mason's hands worked furiously with the cables. Amelia's phone buzzed, an alert. She glanced at it, then showed us the screen. A headline. Anonymous source claims Vivian Hale plotting to ruin husband. He was already moving against me. Eric smiled at the crowd. "I have heard there are rumors, whispers meant to tarnish what we have built. But let me assure you, the truth always wins. And tonight, you will see proof of our strength." Lena whispered. "He is spinning it first." Amelia looked at me. "Vivian, you have to hold steady. We will time this right." Mason looked up, sweat on his forehead. "Got it." The projector flickered, then went dark again. He cursed under his breath. "Not stable." Eric continued, voice booming. "Success is not about weakness. It is about cutting dead weight and building with those who matter. I am proud to stand here with people who contribute, who add value." His eyes scanned the room until they landed on me. His smile sharpened. "Unlike some who drag us down." A murmur spread through the crowd. All eyes turned toward me. Amelia squeezed my arm. "Not yet. Wait." The projector flickered again. Mason whispered. "Almost there." Clara stood at the side of the stage, smirking. She held her phone, clearly recording. She wanted me humiliated. Eric raised his glass. "To the future. To progress. To cutting ties with what holds us back." The words hit like knives, but I stood still, clutched tight on my folder. Then Mason's voice hissed. "Now." The projector lit up. Documents filling the screen. Bank transfers. Hotel receipts. Eric's name beside Clara's. The room gasped. Eric froze, glass midair. But before I could move, the projector went black again. The crowd erupted in confusion. Some had seen enough to whisper. Others doubted. Eric slammed his glass down and roared. "Sabotage! Lies!" The moment was slipping. If we lost it, everything collapsed. Suddenly, Clara shouted from the stage. "She forged it all. Vivian is desperate and jealous." She held up her phone. "I have proof right here." The room rippled with confusion. The projector had gone black. Clara was shouting, and Eric used the chaos like oxygen. "She forged everything." Clara's voice rang sharp. "Vivian is obsessed. She wants to ruin him because she has nothing." Eric raised his arms, commanding attention. "Exactly. She is desperate. She has no career, no income, no purpose. She fabricated this to feel important. The crowd murmured. Doubt spread like smoke. Amelia leaned close to me. Vivian, it is now or never. My heart pounded, but my hand was steady. I walked forward, my heels sharp on the marble floor. The room hushed. Eric's eyes narrowed. Vivian, sit down, he said through clenched teeth. You are embarrassing yourself. I stopped at the foot of the stage. My voice carried without shouting. Embarrassment is lying to your board, your donors, your wife. Embarrassment is stealing from your own family to fund a mistress. Gasps cut through the air. Clara's face reddened. Eric forced a laugh. Lies. She has no proof. I opened my clutch and pulled out the folder. Slowly, deliberately, I held up certified bank statements stamped by the bank itself. Joint account withdrawals. Every month. Thousands transferred to Hale Consulting. I flipped the page. Then from Hale Consulting to Clara Morton. Jewelry. Hotels. Trips. All labeled consulting fees. The board chair leaned forward, straining to see. Reporters scribbled furiously. Phones captured every word. Eric's smile faltered. That proves nothing. I raised another sheet. Hotel records. Room 504. 1 month reservation. Primary guest. Eric Hale. Secondary guest. Clara Morton. A wave of whispers spread. Clara's mouth opened, then closed. And finally, I said, pulling the last page, a certified statement of account balances. Mine. I let the number hang in the air. While Eric called me useless, I built my own fortune. He is not the provider he pretends. He is the parasite, living on stolen money while calling me nothing. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, flashes. The board chair stood. Mr. Hale, is this true? Eric stammered, face pale. She manipulated. But Amelia was already moving. She handed sealed envelopes to the reporter in the front row and the board chair. These are certified copies. Originals are filed with the court. The reporter tore it open, scanning quickly. It is real, he said aloud. Every document is real. Eric lunged toward me, fury in his eyes. Security blocked him instantly. Phones rose higher. Cameras zoomed. Clara stepped back, shaking her head. You said it would never come out. You said she was powerless. Eric turned on her. Shut up. She slapped him across the face, the sound echoing. Gasps erupted again. I held my ground. For 17 years you told me I was nothing. Tonight, the truth speaks louder than your lies. The projector flickered back on. Mason had fixed it. On the screen, emails appeared. Eric's words to Clara. Move the money fast. She will not notice. She never does. The board chair's voice thundered. Effective immediately. Eric Hale is suspended. Security escort him out. Eric roared. This is a setup. You will regret this, Vivian. But his words drowned in the storm. Donors whispered angrily. Reporters shouted questions. Clara slipped out the side door, her face hidden. I stood calm, folder still in my hands, as security dragged Eric off stage. His empire collapsed in real time, in front of the very people he tried to impress. My phone buzzed in my clutch. A message from an unknown number. You may have won tonight, but tomorrow the real war begins. The ballroom was no longer a celebration. It was a battlefield. Reporters surged toward the stage, voices overlapping. Mr. Hale, are the transfers real? Mrs. Hale, when did you discover this? Clara, did you know? Cameras flashed until the room felt like a lightning storm. Security dragged Eric through the crowd. He fought against their grip, his face red, his voice hoarse. You fools! It is all fake. Do you hear me? Fake. But no one listened. Every eye was on me, and every phone camera pointed in my direction. Clara stumbled after Eric but stopped halfway. A woman with diamonds at her neck hissed. Shame on you. Another guest spat. Disgusting. Clara turned, her face pale, and bolted for the exit. Reporters chased her like wolves. On stage, the board chair spoke into the microphone. This event is concluded. An emergency meeting will be held tomorrow to address leadership. His voice cracked with rage. We do not tolerate corruption. Donors began leaving in clusters, whispering furiously. Some avoided Eric entirely. Others shook their heads with open disgust. Amelia guided me off the stage. Stay calm. Do not speak further. Let the evidence speak. But reporters were relentless. Vivian, did you forge these documents? Vivian, how long have you been preparing this? Vivian, what will happen to your marriage? I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and answered just one. For 17 years Eric told me I was useless. Tonight you saw the truth. The crowd erupted again, the sentence already spreading like fire. Phones streamed it live. Outside the venue, chaos continued. Protesters who had gathered with signs cheered as security escorted Eric into a waiting car. Someone shouted, "Thief!" Another threw a crumpled program at the window. Inside our car, Mason drove fast, weaving through reporters' vans. Amelia sat beside me, typing furiously on her phone. The press has everything now. The court filings are already stamped. He cannot bury this. Lena gripped my hand. It is over, Viv. He is finished. But I stared out the window, heart still pounding. He is not finished. Men like him never accept defeat. Back home, the children waited on the couch, eyes wide. Mira jumped up. Mom, we saw everything online. Are you okay? I hugged her tightly. I am okay. We are safe. But as I held her, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. You think you humiliated him. Tomorrow he humiliates you. Amelia read it, jaw tightening. We take this to the police first thing in the morning. Mason checked the locks on every door, then installed a small device in the hallway. Motion sensors. If anyone comes near the house, it will trigger. Lena stayed the night. She sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, watching the windows. The silence of the house felt fragile. At 3 in the morning, headlights appeared outside. A black car slowed, paused, then drove away. Amelia whispered, "He is rattled. That means we hit him hard. Hold on, Vivian. Tomorrow will be worse before it gets better." Just before dawn, Mira shook me awake. Her hands trembled as she held out my phone. On the screen was a new photo, me on stage at the gala, but taken from behind. The caption read, "Nice speech. Shame it was your last." Morning came, but the house felt like it hadn't slept. The children were pale with worry. Lena brewed coffee on autopilot. Amelia was already on her phone, reading updates. Mason sat near the window, watching the street. "Look at this," Amelia said, turning her screen. Headlines covered every major outlet. CEO Eric Hale exposed in fraud scandal. Wife reveals secret fortune while husband faces collapse. Hale consulting payments linked to mistress. Videos from the gala had gone viral overnight. Clips of Eric shouting "fake" were replayed on every network. My single sentence. For 17 years Eric told me I was useless. Tonight you saw the truth. Was trending everywhere. Mira scrolled her own phone. Mom, they're calling you a hero. People are posting about leaving toxic marriages. They're saying you gave them courage. I forced a smile, but my stomach twisted. The messages on my phone told another story. Hundreds of anonymous numbers. Some praising, others threatening. And one that repeated every hour. It isn't over. By mid-morning, detectives arrived. Rivera, the lead investigator, laid out photos of the threatening messages. These came from burners. Hard to trace. But the tone is desperate. He's cornered, and that makes him dangerous. Lena snapped. So arrest him already. Rivera shook his head. The fraud charges are moving. But threats like this require direct linkage. Keep your doors locked. Do not go anywhere alone. When he left, the house felt smaller. At noon, Amelia took me downtown for a press conference. Cameras lined the courthouse steps. I stood behind her while she spoke. Vivian Hale has presented certified evidence of financial fraud, theft, and marital misconduct. These documents have been filed with the court. We will cooperate fully with investigators. Let me be clear, Mr. Hale's attempts to intimidate her have been noted and will be addressed. Reporters shouted questions. One called, Vivian, do you regret going public? I stepped forward. No. Silence protected him for years. Silence ends today. The crowd roared with more questions, but Amelia pulled me inside. In the courtroom, I sat quietly while the judge reviewed preliminary motions. Amelia presented the first batch of evidence. Eric's lawyer argued weakly, claiming fabrication. The judge frowned and ordered the financial institutions to produce official records within 48 hours. As we left, flashes blinded me again. One reporter shouted, "Vivian, do you feel vindicated?" I answered simply, "I feel ready." Back home, Mason handed me a folder. Eric has been stripped of temporary control of Hale Consulting. The board voted this morning. Shareholders are calling for his resignation. Lena smirked. His empire is crumbling. But Mason's face stayed grim. That makes him more dangerous. And Clara, she's vanished. No public appearances, no interviews. My guess? She's hiding or he's hiding her. That evening, protesters gathered outside Eric's headquarters. Signs read "Justice for Vivian" and "Fraud has no legacy." News helicopters circled overhead. Inside my house, the children huddled close. Mira whispered, "What if he comes here?" I pulled her close. "Then he'll face all of us. We're not afraid anymore." But the truth was, I was afraid. Because as I tucked them into bed, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't just a message. It was a live video feed. Eric's face filled the screen, eyes bloodshot, voice raw. "You humiliated me. You think you've won. But if I go down, you go down with me." The feed cut to black. Seconds later, another notification appeared. A calendar invite. The title, "Final Meeting." The location, my father's old property, the one only Eric and I had ever known. The time, tomorrow night. The calendar invite glowed on my phone. Final meeting. Tomorrow night. My father's old property. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. That place was a farmhouse miles outside the city. Only Eric and I had ever been there years ago before the children. For him to choose it now was deliberate. He wanted isolation. He wanted control. Amelia insisted on coming. "If you go, we go. No exceptions." The next evening we drove out together, me, Amelia, Mason, and Lena. Police cars waited a mile down the road, engines off, lights hidden. Rivera had demanded it. "He is unpredictable. We will be close." The farmhouse loomed, dark against the horizon. One lamp glowed inside. Eric's car was parked crooked near the porch. I stepped out, folder in hand. My heart hammered, but my voice stayed steady. "Stay close," I whispered. Inside, Eric sat at the old kitchen table. His tie hung loose, his eyes bloodshot. A half-empty bottle sat beside him. He looked up and smirked. "Vivian, you came." I stood across from him. "Why here?" "Because this was ours once. Before you became a ghost. Before you decided to destroy me." "You destroyed yourself," I said. He slammed his fist on the table. "No. You betrayed me. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. And now I lose everything while you stand tall. You lost because you lied. Because you stole. Because you thought I was nothing." His voice dropped to a hiss. "You were nothing." Amelia's voice rang out from behind me. "Enough. Eric Hale. Every word you speak tonight is recorded. Think carefully." He sneered. "Lawyers. Parasites." His eyes cut back to me. "Do you feel powerful now, Vivian? You think your fortune makes you strong? Without me, you would still be folding laundry." I leaned forward, my voice sharp. "Without you, I built more than you ever could. I raised children. I managed wealth you never even guessed. And now I stand while you crumble." He froze. My words hit where it hurt most, his pride. Then Rivera and 2 officers entered, badges visible. "Eric Hale, you are under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and harassment. Stand up." Eric's chair screeched back. "This is not over," he shouted as officers cuffed him. "Vivian, you will regret this." But his voice cracked. For the first time he looked small. They let him out into the night. The farmhouse door shut behind them. Silence settled, heavy but clean. Lena touched my arm. "It's done." I exhaled slowly. Yes. Finally. The next weeks moved quickly. Headlines blared. "Eric Hale indicted. Former CEO faces years in prison." Shareholders replaced him. Clara vanished entirely. My children went back to school without whispers chasing them. The house was peaceful again. One evening Mira sat beside me. Mom, do you ever regret it? I shook my head. No. Because silence is what gave him power. Truth is what took it away. She smiled faintly. You're not useless. I kissed her forehead. Never let anyone tell you that you are. Now I say the same to anyone listening. If you have been dismissed, belittled, or betrayed, do not let lies define you. Do not let someone else write your worth. Evidence is power. Truth is strength. And when the time comes, speak. Because revenge is not about rage. It is about reclaiming what was stolen. And I reclaimed everything.